cover story, the bitter custody fight between a 3-year-old girl's biological father and her adoptive parents. Here's NBC's Kristen Welker.
Are you gonna say trick or treat?
Veronica is only 3 years old, but for most of her life, two families have been fighting to call her their own. Veronica lives in Oklahoma with her biological father, Dustin Brown, and his wife, Robin.
I'll fight till I have no more fight left in me.
We are not giving up on her, ever.
But for her first 2 years, Veronica's home was in South Carolina with her adoptive parents, Matt and Melanie Capobianco. The bitter custody battle started in 2009 when Veronica's parents split up. Her biological mother, Christy Maldonado, asked Brown to give her custody. Brown agreed, writing in a text message, "I think that I will just sign my rights away," and he later signed the paperwork. About to deploy to Iraq, Brown says he never realized his daughter could be put up for adoption.
I never knew what I was signing. I just thought that I was signing just, for her to have full custody. Be able to make all the right decisions for my daughter while I was gone.
In 2011, a South Carolina court ruled that Brown, who is a member of the Cherokee Nation, should have custody of his daughter under a federal law, which seeks to keep Native American children with their parents. The case eventually went to the Supreme Court, which ruled 5-4 this summer that the federal statute did not apply.
They said because he had not been a part of the child's life, he was not entitled to say this child is now being deprived of my heritage.
Last week, a South Carolina court ordered Brown to return Veronica, but he didn't show up with her for a scheduled meeting to begin the transition process, citing his National Guard training. Now the court is mandating that Brown hand her over immediately. All this with Veronica turning 4 next month.
There's no doubt in my mind that I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be there for my daughter's birthday.
We missed her 3rd birthday, but we don't want to miss any more birthdays.
Right now, all that's sure is both families will face off again next week in court. For today, Kristen Welker, NBC News, Washington.
Well, Veronica's adoptive parents, Matt and Melanie Capobianco, are with us now, along with Lori Alvino McGill, the attorney for the biological mother in this case. Good morning to all of you. When was the last time, Melanie, you saw Veronica?
19 months ago when we had to hand her over.
You had her for the first 2 years of her life, right, Matt? So it's a complicated legal backstory. We got into it a little bit, but the bottom line is you won in court. You won in the Supreme Court. There was supposed to be a handover of Veronica back to you. Matt, what happened?
Nobody showed. They could have asked for a different time, a different date, but none of his attorneys did in court, so we assumed that he was going to show, but now I guess we just assumed that they knew all along he wasn't going to show.
Dustin says he had National Guard duty. Do you believe that that's the reason he didn't bring the child?
Well, again, they could have offered a different time and place, and they didn't, and someone else could have brought her. That was very clear. Proxy could have brought her. So I'm not sure they ever planned to come.
Lori, it is a complicated legal backdrop. I mean, as we just heard in the piece, Dustin says when he didn't need to sign over his parental rights, he didn't know the baby would be adopted. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say is that this case has been fully litigated, and that has been, of course, part of the legal and factual inquiry all the way up to the Supreme Court and back. The fact of the matter is that he doesn't even contest the fact that he was fully prepared to and aware of the fact that he was giving up all parental rights. It's just that he expected Veronica's birth mother, Christy, to raise Veronica herself. Veronica had been born for months and months and months by the time he learned of the adoption. And the reason for that is that he was out of their lives. She was pregnant, facing an unplanned pregnancy, a single mom of 2, and she had to come up with a plan for her child.
Let me ask you about Veronica, because in family court they always say it's the best interest of the child, and I assume that is what is most important to you. Do you worry about this transition? She was with you for 2 years. Now she's been with the biological father for 18 months. Do you worry about, if you get her back, how you will manage that?
I mean, we obviously want to go as smooth as possible. We don't want, any trauma. They gave us an hour and a half, where they gave her an hour and a half. We're giving her, 5 days. That was the plan anyway.
But they cut off all communication. We never got to see her or talk to her. She didn't know what had happened to us, and we don't plan to do that with her.
Well, it is a long and complicated story and a heart-wrenching one in a lot of ways. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll send it over to